Today at Without Warning, you're going to meet Danielle Birch, a private investigator that is joined Without Warning. Danielle?
Well, thank you, Sheila. I'm glad to be here. I've actually been with Sheila for a few years now, but we run a Patreon page, and we decided to have our Patreon members ask us questions that they wanted to know about us, about investigating, and just some personal questions. So they threw out some questions to us, and we are going to go through them one by one.
And you heard that with...
I did.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is go let one of my PI pups out. Well, maybe we can persuade... Oh, good. He's going to take a nap. So if you're not following PI pups, those are my investigator puppies that come along on investigations. Danielle's going to ask a question that was given to us by the Patreon group, and let's see what they asked.
Okay. The first question is, what were the scariest and strangest incidents during investigations?
I'll take scariest.
I'll take strangest.
Okay. Scariest was when I was a brand new investigator working under two former law enforcement investigators, learning everything I could. We went into a rural area. I didn't know where we were going, what really was going to happen. And as we approached the home that we were going to knock on the front door and get an interview, it was in an area where you shouldn't go because they might be growing something that is not accessible to everybody. Illegal stuff. So we drove in like nothing happened, and we didn't know any better, which I didn't. I was the one who was supposed to go to the front door because I'm the most non-threatening. I walk up to the front door. The investigator, one of them's right behind me, probably 10 feet. I could see him. He had on him several guns, all legal, just in case things went wrong. But the problem was, again, being naive, I knock on the door. I don't move out of the way. I don't back up. I am at the door. Unfortunately, the person that opened the door pulled a gun. It's the first time I've ever had a gun pointed at me. I was scared out of my mind, but I was able to de-escalate the situation, sort of got what we needed, and then we got the heck out of there. From that, I did learn. We now go in very prepared. We do an extensive write-up, workup of who we're about to go see. Had I known we were going into a rural area that someone potentially was growing things that weren't legal, I probably would have approached it a little bit differently.
But you learned from that
Absolutely.
experience and applied it to future investigations, and you'll always remember that time.
I'll always remember that moment. And also, I remember an investigator recently, within the last year, saying to me, I've never had a gun pulled on me. Guess what happened on that particular investigation? All right, now it's your turn.
So I will take the strangest, and it actually was one of my first times. And you know, we were in the state of Texas for about a week. Several of us investigators were just doing kind of separate missions, and there was a witness that we really wanted to get. They had multiple homes listed on the bio that we had for them, and we had gone to 2 prior residences, and we weren't able to locate them. At the 3rd residence, there were 3 of us that were in the car, and kind of coming up on the street, and it looked like a compound. It looked like a planned, I don't want to say a planned development, but it was a compound. That's the best way I could describe it. There was, on the street, there was a wall that was made out of stone or brick that was probably 10 feet high. And there was, there were gates, iron gates that you had to enter. So we actually drove past 3 times wondering, do we do this?
And assessing.
and assessing. Exactly, we each, the three of us each paid attention to, one was the wall, one was through the gate, one was at the residences within the gate. So we ultimately decided it's our last day, we need to go for it. So we went in through the gate, and there were like little, almost little huts, roofed, shingled, but yet they were just small dwellings. One was obviously an educational building. One was like a recreation spot. There was a garden where they were growing their own food. And there were several, almost like cabins. That's the best way to describe it. So because we were kind of freaked out with the situation, one of the investigators stayed in the car, turned the car around, but kept it running in case we had to make a fast getaway. And we were even assessing how fast do we need to go that we could break through these gates. We actually then went to one of the cabins and knocked on the door, asked if the witness was there. They were not. However, he was a little sketchy in himself. So we did talk to him for a little bit. He really inquired why we were looking for that person.
A little too much.
A little too much. He was really interested in it. So we think that this person did live there at one point, if not still live there. They weren't there that day though, and we had to get out of the state. But that was just the strangest place that I've been, is that compound. And their prior residences were very normal, just a regular ranch style home or a nice apartment building. So this one really came up unexpected when we drove past it.
But not unexpected based on our background of this particular person. A compound would have fit her profile.
100%.
You know, and then the other thing to go back to planning and learning, when we were driving past the 3 times, we did that to see, is it safe enough for us to go in? Because safety is always an issue. And I am all about safety because I've been in situations that have been quite scary. And, you know, we did look at escape plan and how we would handle it. We also notified, there were other groups of investigators, and so we notified them, telling them we're going in. We really probably wouldn't have gone in had it not been our last day in that state, but it was very important for us to either, you know, get the witness or know that they're not there.
Right. You know, as far as letting the other investigators know where we were, we did have GPS in the car. We did have our regular phone locators on, but any extra, you know, safety in numbers is the saying. And, you know, always we all knew where each other was at every time.
Exactly. And one of my favorite stories about GPS is every night we kind of go through the GPS. On one of the trips you weren't on, a group of us went to a different state, and we were able to track what everybody did that day. What's interesting is some people went shopping.
And some people went to Torchy's Tacos.
Some people
more than one time.
More than one time, that's right. So they were called out.
We always know where they are.
Yeah, and that is important when we go out into the field.
Right. Okay.